Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be tier ranking all of the 63 books that I read in 2023. So if you're interested, stick around. These are all my opinions, and if you don't like them, that's okay. But if you're curious to think or to see what my ratings are for all of these books, what books I like, what I don't like, and any recommendations, stick around. So I am screen recording on my laptop, and I think I'm just gonna go in order of what I read it by, or like what I started out reading. So the first book is The No-Show by Beth O'Leary, and I thought it was good when I read it. It wasn't like anything special. It definitely was a unique story, but honestly, I don't really remember anything from it, so I'm gonna put that in mid. It was still a good book and I would recommend it, but I read it a year ago and I honestly don't remember a ton from it, so that's kind of like a teller of if I really like a book or not, is if I like really remember it. But for me, I didn't. Next is Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I'm gonna put this in I will never shut up about this book because it's unlike anything I've ever read before. It's a science fiction book, and usually I'm not the biggest fan of science fiction. However, I love this book. I love his writing, and it was super unique. It's about this guy who's like trying to like stop the world from genetic mutations, and it's just really good. So I put it up there. It's definitely a 5-star read. And something pretty unique if you haven't read it before. Okay, next is Juniper Hill. I'm gonna put it in really good. Because here's the thing, I think that is my favorite out of the whole series, and the series in itself is like a 3-star for me because I don't know, it just is, that's my opinion. It's like, it's good, and it's like small town and all of that, but it's such a long series that I kind of fell off. You'll see throughout the video how I rated some of her other books, but as far as it goes, I actually really liked it, and while I was reading it, it was super fun and engaging, and I read it in like 2 days, so for that, I'm going to put it in really good. Next is the Alice Network. Oh, I should probably explain what these tiers are, even though it's kind of self-explanatory. So the bottom, it's no from me. I didn't like the book. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not my fave. That one, it kind of depends. Like, I didn't like it, but it's not like a hard no. Mid is, it was fine. Liked it when I read it, but don't really remember anything from it. Really good is that I really enjoyed the book and that I would recommend it to people. And then I will never shut up about this book. Kind of self-explanatory. I won't shut up about it and I'll tell everybody about it, and I absolutely loved it. So those are the tiers. But next is the Alice Network. So I'm putting this in, it was fine. It was a World War II story and I liked it, but it was really long. Like while I was reading it, I liked it, but it did feel to drag on, and I reached a point where I was like, okay, I kind of want to finish the book. Like I kind of want to get it over with. And usually when I read a book, I like don't want it to be over, and I like read it slower because I like the story more and I want to like savor the reading experience. But sometimes it was like almost, I think it was like 500 pages. And I'm like, does really any book need to be 500 pages? It was a long one for sure, but it was fun nonetheless. I really do enjoy World War II stories, so while I was reading it, it was fine. Okay. I think I'm gonna put Finlay Donovan in, and not my fave, because I know it's a series, and I don't think I'm gonna continue the series, and honestly, it wasn't my favorite. Like, the story was fine, but I just remember not really getting engaged in it, and it like kind of just wanting the story to be over so I could read something else, because it just didn't hit. It was fine. It just wasn't my favorite. but I know some people actually really do love the story. Evidence of the Affair. I don't remember anything of it. I honestly read it because I wanted to get through Taylor Jenkins Reid's backlist, like read all of her books, and I think I did that. And this was the last one, and it's like a novella. It's like 80 pages, and I don't remember anything about it. Now this one, The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, amazing. It's going, I will never shut up about this book. I remember reading it and loving it the entire time. Like, I didn't want the story to be over. It's definitely a bigger book, but in my opinion, it needs to be because there's just so much like story and character development and detail put into this book. All of her books are phenomenal, but this one is really great, and I just remember absolutely loving it. I recommended it to like everybody around me. I was like, you have to read this book. And it's about this family in the 1970s, and they go to Alaska, and I've never read a book like it before. And her storytelling is just fantastic. So I really, really, really enjoyed this book, and I'll recommend it to anybody who has 2 legs and walks and a beating heart. All right. Next one, Garnet Flats. It's a no for me. I don't remember anything about this book, and this is when the series kind of to drop off for me. Like, I couldn't tell you who the main characters are or what the story was about. Love on the Brain, however, yep, I will never shut up about this book. It was so good. And any one of Ali Hazelwood's books, I eat it up. I love it so much. It's so good. Her writing, phenomenal. Her main character is phenomenal. Although this girl, she was kind of a pick-me girl, but because the man was so great, I kind of forgave Ali for that because it was so good. I don't know what else to say. It was just so cutesy, and you see me getting giddy about this? That's why this book is that's why. And I read it back in like, I don't know, March or something. So that's when you know it's good, is that if I'm still raving about it 10 months later, that's when you know. Okay. The Housemaid is that one was also good. I want to read all of her books, and each one I'm like, oh, I already know what's gonna happen. Or usually when I'm reading thriller books, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see where the story's going. Not with this one. I still have yet to read the sequel. I'm a little bit scared because usually sequels to books aren't great as the first one, but people have loved the sequel, so I'll give her a chance, but it was so good. I remember being on like the edge of my seat reading it. Like, what's gonna happen next? Yeah. Okay. Final offer. Don't hate me, but I'm putting it in mid because I don't know. I like the first. Well, I like the second book. Terms and Conditions was my favorite by far. The first and the third were fine. Honestly, it was like a 500-page romance book, and I was like, really? Does this really need to be 500 pages? And the main guy character, I was like, kind of a red flag. So, and I couldn't tell any chemistry. It felt very rushed. Like the whole, like, this book felt very rushed, and there was just a lot of nothing on a lot of the like 500 pages. So that's my opinion. It was fine. Like, when I was reading it, I was like, okay, this is fine. Like, I can kind of get behind this, but looking back, I'm like, meh, it was kind of mid. Next, Cloud Cuckoo Land. Okay, so funny story. I read this book when I had a really bad concussion because, like, the author, so I read All the Light We Cannot See by him. Loved it. One of my favorite books. And he actually was coming to my school to do a talk. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I really want, and his talk was based on this book, Cloud Cuckoo Land. Bought tickets and everything, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna see him. I ended up getting a concussion, and this book is like 600 pages. So I'm like laying in bed, like my brain is scrambled, trying to read this book. And this is probably like the worst book to read when you have a head injury because it like goes through different timelines, and like it kind of gets, sometimes the story kind of gets scrambled and it's really hard to follow along. And like when you can barely look at your phone, let alone try to comprehend three different storylines happening at the same time, it's pretty hard. However, like it's a good book, but like based on the circumstances that I was in, I'm gonna put it in mid. Like I want to reread it and like actually try to comprehend it, because like give it a second chance when my brain is like healed, but because of the circumstances, I'm sorry, but I have to put it there. Things We Hide from the Light, mid. Because here's the thing. Things We Never Got Over, fantastic. Things We Left Behind, fantastic. This book, it kind of just fell flat. I didn't connect with the characters. I didn't really like the characters. It felt very lustful, and I don't remember anything from it either. It was fine. Before the Coffee Gets Cold is not my favorite. I read it because Jack Edwards loves it, and I'm a big fan of him and his videos, but when I was reading it, I was like, it's good, but it's not my favorite. Yeah. It's either between mid or not my fave, but I'm gonna put it in not my fave because I never think about the book, and yeah, I don't really think about her. Okay, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I was going through a rough patch when I read this book. A lot of things in my life were like not going the way that I wanted it to, so I was really distracted when I was reading it, and it was written in like the 1960s, and just the writing, yeah, a lot of these are looking back at the list, when I look at these books, I'll remember like different times in my life when I read it, like different periods of last year, and I was like, yeah, I was going through a rough patch when I read that one. Next, In a Jam. I'm also gonna put it in mid. Like it was fine. It was also 500 pages. Like, why do romance novels need to be 500 pages? I feel like we should cap it at like 350, maybe 400. But 500, I feel like you're just dragging along the plot. And a lot of people like raved about this book, but I don't know. I just thought it was fine. I didn't really care for it or the characters. The Hotona and Tucket, on the other hand. Anything Ellen Hildebrand writes, I eat it up. I love it so much. This book, I love it so much. I remember I read this when summer was just getting started for me, and I remember I went and I bought a hardcover copy from Barnes and Noble, and I went to the beach and I read this book, and I was thriving. I was having the time of my life reading it. It was, yeah, I loved it. Any one of her books, I love. I want to read all of them. Even though she has like 30 books, I will be reading all of them. Thank you for listening. I hated it. I hated that book. It was so bad. It was just bad. I don't know what else to say. It was bad. The Cave Dwellers, I liked it, but it wasn't anything exceptional. But I would recommend it. It was definitely interesting. I liked the plot, but that's it. A New York Minute. I don't really remember anything about it. So for that reason, it's going in mid. Crazy Rich Asians, on the other hand. So freaking good. I love that book. And the movie, it doesn't do it justice. I know a lot of people love the movie, and it's like the token airplane movie that everybody watches, but like, you have to read the book. It's so good. People who don't like the book, I don't know what they're talking about. They're wrong. And the book is fantastic. It's even better than the movie, dare I say. And it's just, I mean, you have to read it. Like, there's not much else to say. You have to read it. It was really good. What else can I say? Second First Impressions, I hated it. Why was this book even written? I don't know. Sally Thorne, The Hating Game, fantastic. This book, piece of shiz. I don't like it. The Henna Artist, I would say was really good. I liked it. I read it for a book club, and I thought it was great. Like, the story was good. It was really hard to get into at the beginning. There's one part in the book where you get to, like, oh shoot, like this is where we're going now, and like it completely changes, and it gets really good from there. But the first part was really hard to get through. I don't like the first 30-40%, but after I like pushed through that, it got really good. Okay, and so then this is when we get into me finally tackling the Addicted series, and I read it because everybody raves about it and everybody loves it. Like all of the booktuber girlies, like they absolutely love this series. And I was like putting it off for a while, and I was like, you know what, I'm finally gonna do it. It was the summertime, I had the time on my hands, and I read the first 5 books. Addicted to You, mid. Ricochet, mid. Addicted for Now, mid. Oops. Because here's the thing. I personally don't like super spicy books, and these books have a lot of you know what going on. So for that reason, I wasn't the biggest fan. I feel like I couldn't connect with the characters like a lot of other people could. Like people that are really big fans of the story, they felt like they connected with a lot of the characters, and it had that like found family aspect, but there are just some parts where I couldn't overlook. Like Rose and Connor's story, like that one part where their you know what gets sold to like a you know what company, that was, I couldn't overlook that. And there were just a lot of parts where I was like, yep, you're losing me, I don't get it. So Kiss the Sky goes in mid. Hot House Flower I liked, not enough to put it in really good, but it was like my favorite out of the 5 that I've read. I mean, it was fine. I'm not going to continue with the series, and I was really disappointed because like everybody loves them, and I really wanted to connect with people on that, of like connect with their like feelings and thoughts on the book, but I couldn't get behind it. I thought like I was reading it, I was like, why am I putting myself through this? Like I felt like I just kept pushing because everyone's like, oh, it gets better the like further along you get. So I was like, okay, I'll like keep reading, and then I didn't like it. I don't know what else to say. That's my opinion. I know a lot of people like it, and I can see why, like the found family aspect, but like for me, I wasn't the biggest fan. Okay, 9 Perfect Strangers. I'm gonna put this in really good. Not enough to like make me shut up about it, but like it was really good. And I read this book when like my best friend from home visited me in San Diego, and we were like at the beach, and I was reading it. So like it's so cool like looking back at all the books that I've read, of like how it connects to different like parts in the year and different memories and like stages of like life that I was going through. So I think that's something super cool about reading. I liked it. I thought that the story was great. I didn't expect a lot of it, and her writing is very like suspenseful, even though the story in itself isn't. Like it is suspenseful, but it's not like a thriller, but it was really good. All right, The Gray Seer. That book gave me chills, and I didn't like it. It's like a mix of the Hunger Games and like some witchy folklore type stuff, and I wasn't the biggest fan. I don't know what else to say. It was fine. Under Lock. That's like probably the 4th time I've reread that book. It's amazing. I love Mariana Zapata. That was like the first book of hers that I like read and I like devoured. And I will keep going back, and I am a stan of that book. Maybe in Another Life, really good. It's not my favorite book from hers, but I thought it was great. Super, like each one of her books, super interesting plot line, and this was one of her backlist, and I thought it was great, and it deserves more recognition. Book Lovers. It's my favorite Emily Henry book. I love it. My mom read it. She loved it. I Will Die on That Hill. It is her best book so far, and I didn't really like Beach Read. I'll go into that later, maybe in another video, but Book Lovers, loved. Red Rising, it's a no for me. I DNF'd it. Maybe I'm not smart enough to understand it. I didn't like it. The 5-Star Weekend, I can get behind. Like I said, I will eat up anything that she writes. This one was so good too, and you wouldn't expect it to be so good, but just like it is. I don't know what else to say. Like it just, I don't know what else to say. Yeah. Happy Place, really good. Not my favorite book of Emily Henry's because Book Lovers is up there, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, Golden Girl by Ellen. There's not much else to say. That book is so good. All of her books that I've read so far are up there. Love that you read it. Yeah. This one is so good. This is my favorite out of her books. Me kicking my feet like a little, it had me kicking my feet like a little girl. So dreamy. The story was so good. I did cringe on behalf of the female main character for some parts, but like, it was really good. I love that book. Part of Your World, really good. I liked it a lot. And yeah, I've never heard a bad thing about that book, and I don't have any bad things to say. It was really good. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Yeah. I see the hype. I get the hype. I'm on the hype train. I will contribute to the hype train. I don't like anything I've read before. The plotline was great. The story was great. The characters were a little frustrating, but they were great. And I loved it. I really did. Okay. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. What else can I say? Not my favorite out of the Hunger Games, but I will still never shut up about this book. I will never shut up about the movie, the series as a whole. I love it. I did get scared at times reading it. And I just finished reading Catching Fire, and I did get scared last night reading it. So I am a wimp. The book was great. It was a little bit longer than it needed to be. A little bit confusing, but actually, I'm going to put Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes in really good because they do have a little bit of criticism. Same with Things We Left Behind. I will also put in really good. I did really enjoy it, but Things We Never Got Over, I won't ever shut up about. But Things We Left Behind, it felt like the story didn't really revolve around the two characters at first. It revolved around everything else going on, and I was like, okay, like, does Lucian and Sloane even like each other? Like, I feel like they're not even talking to each other for the first 50% of the book, but after that, it was good. But before, I was like, why am I even here? Why am I reading? I had such high expectations. They were not met. They were barely met. I still liked it, and I still think it was really good, but I'll shut up. Tokyo Ever After. We need to talk about this book more. We need to talk about this book more because it's everything that you want in a little YA romance. We need to talk about it more. As a society, as a booktube community, we need to talk about this book more. And I said what I said. Hello Stranger, yeah. Yep. It was so good. All of her books are so good, and this one is definitely up there. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. It deserves the hype. It deserves the hype. The Paris Apartment. I don't know why this book gets as much hate as it does. Like, I thought it was good. Was it the best thriller that I've ever read? No. But I thought it was great. Like, I don't know why it gets as much hate as it does. The 7-Year Slip. Yep. Really good. Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Also fantastic. However, Good Girl, Bad Blood, I'll put in really good. Because the first book is fantastic, but the second one, meh. 7-Year Slip, yeah, it was great. Never Lie. I read this book on an airplane in like 2.5 hours. Like flipping through the pages of my Kindle, like unable to put it down. Did not expect the plot twist at all. At all. I was shook. I was in shock. When in Rome, I'll put it in really good. It was really good. That's all I can say. It was great. It deserves the hype. The Cheat Sheet, also really good. I don't know why people give it as much hate as it does. People are like, oh, it's so cringy. I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was that cringy. Like, yeah, they were stupid for not saying that they liked each other, but like, I don't get why, it's like, stop being so mean. They're trying their best. Okay. Love Wager, also really good. Also really liked it. And say Crimson River, it's a no for me. Actually, I'm gonna put it in not my fave. Like, when I was reading it, I was like, okay, this is fine. Did it touch and exceed all my expectations? No, but like, it was fine. Like, yeah, it was fine. Hunger Games, yeah, never shut up about this book. It was, I mean, it's the Hunger Games. Like, do I say less? Like, yeah. Need I say more? Yeah. Hunger Games. Throttled. Here's the thing. This is my formal ask to date an F1 driver and live Maya's life. Because that girl is everything I wanted. That fictional character, it's everything I want to be. That's my aspiration in life, is to be a vlogger, dating a Formula One driver, traveling around the world. I love that book so much. It's because I want her life so badly. Yep, I want her life so badly. Yep. It's my favorite out of the series. Dead Romantics, I hated it. I DNF'd it. It's a no for me. I didn't understand what was going on. His and Hers, really good. I got scared reading this. It was really good. True Love Experiment, also really good. Not my favorite Christina Lauren book, but I thought it was great. And I got giddy reading it. And that's all that you really need out of a romance book. Done and Dusted, not my fave. I felt like it was really rushed. I couldn't sense the chemistry. It felt like they didn't like each other, and then all of a sudden they're like making out in the span of 3 pages. I was like, all right, not my fave. All Roads Lead Here. Probably one of my favorite Mariana Zapata books. It was so good. Yeah. Maybe I should do one of these of ranking her books. It was so good. I love that book so much. Yeah, that's all I can say. It was great. The Book of Two Ways, not my favorite. The main character sucks, and I disagreed with basically all of her life decisions. Lock Every Door, really good. I got really scared reading it, especially at night. I was like, okay, I need to lock every door. Was not expecting the whole plot of it. Was not expecting that at all. I was like, oh wow, we're really gonna get into this. And Love Redesigned. It was fine. I'll probably keep reading the series, but Lauren Asher, like, her books are either a hit or miss for me. Throttle, love. Final Offer and Love Redesigned. It was fine. Like, it was mid. Like, I'll read it. Like, I'll read her other books, but it was fine. All right, so I think we have all of my favorite and least favorite books of the year. Looking over, I'm like, yep, this does make a lot of sense. I actually had some really great books, like Love on the Brain, Crazy Rich Asians, Love Theoretically, like all of this. This pretty much describes my taste in books. I read mostly romance, but like I love a good thriller. Here or there, historical fiction, sci-fi, like, yeah. I want to know what you guys, like, what has been your favorite book of 2023, and like what book were you really anticipating but ended up not liking? Because I had a lot of books I was really anticipating that ended up falling short for me, or I saw a lot of books get hype on TikTok and I was like, this looks so good, and then I read it and I was like, oh, yeah, this isn't for me. And that's okay. We're allowed to have opinions, and we're allowed to disagree with some opinions, and that's fine. That's this crazy thing that we call life. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this ranking. It does pretty much accurately describe my taste in books. And we had a lot of mid, we had a lot of good, we had some bad. So what more could you ask for? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you stayed throughout the end of this video, thank you. Thank you for your support, and I hope that you got some book recommendations from this. You agree with some of my opinions. I definitely want to know what you guys have thought about the books that you read, some of my taste in books. I'm just really curious about it, and see what you guys think too. And I love this little book community. This was really fun to make, so I definitely want to make more tier ranking videos. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.